What did I miss? Brian here, and it's cloudy and a little bit windy today. Hood is up because today we got a maintenance procedure for the 4Runner, and that is doing a brake fluid flush. I notice whenever I step on the brake pedal, it feels very spongy, and usually that's one of the indicators of, needing a brake fluid flush. You have to do it every 20 to 30,000 miles, and I'm gonna be honest with you, never done it before. I've got over 160,000 miles on it, never done it once. It's really bad, but hey, better late than never. Usually when you do a brake fluid flush, you need a second person. It's a two-man job, but in this case, you could actually do it at home by yourself. For the 4th Gen 4Runner, there are 5 things you need to look for. One of them being the brake fluid reservoir, and then you need to look for 4 valves on all 4 brake calipers, both the front and the rear. Those valves are where the fluid will come out whenever you do the brake fluid flush. And the most common way to flush all the brakes is to start from the rear passenger side, then you move towards the rear driver's side, then the front passenger side, and then the front driver's side. For the tools, I'm using a jack stands, a 10mm flare nut wrench, a suction pump, a water bottle, and a clear hose. Now, for the suction pump, you don't have to use anything fancy. In fact, I didn't use anything fancy. I just used one of those medical syringes with a rubber hose at the end. And for the water bottle and clear hose, that's what I'm using to create my bleeder system. And all you have to do is just poke a hole on the cap of the water bottle and run the clear hose through, just like that. As for the materials, it's just one thing, and that is brake fluid, nothing else. My 4th Gen 4Runner takes .3 brake fluid, and I'm using Valvoline synthetic .3 and 4 brake fluid. Now, if you have another vehicle, you're doing a brake fluid flush, and you don't know what brake fluid your vehicle uses, usually it will say on the cap of the brake fluid reservoir. Mine says .3. Another way you can find out is look at the owner's manual, and it will also tell you. Mine also says .3 in the owner's manual. Now, if all fails, just look it up on the internet. And usually when it comes to brake flushes, you want to lift the vehicle and take the wheels off. But that is only if you cannot access the valves behind the brake calipers. For the rear, you definitely don't have to lift it. You could leave it sitting on the ground as is. For the front, it's a little more difficult, especially being at stock height, and I'm going to lift the front so that I could access the valves. And so, without further ado, let's get to it. Oop, the sun is hitting kind of nice right now. But in the beginning, I stated that you should start on the rear passenger side, but I did that side already. So we're going to start on the rear driver's side. But when you start on the rear passenger side, you want to open the brake fluid reservoir, pull out all the old fluid as much as possible, and add new fluid in. Ugh, that is nasty. Okay, I think that's about as good as it's gonna get for now. I'm gonna add our new fluid. Okay. I'm under the 4Runner. This is the rear passenger side, and the valve to let the fluid out is right there, and it has a rubber cover on it. Like I said, I did this side already, so we're going to move towards the rear driver's side, and the valve is right there, and it also has that rubber cover. I got the hose attached, and I got the water bottle sitting on top of the jack. You want the water bottle to sit higher than that valve on the brake caliper. I didn't really have anything that was tall enough, so I used my own jack. And I added a little bit of fluid in the bottle. I used the old fluid, more specifically. When you turn on the vehicle and hit the brakes, it's going to pull fluid in, and it's better for it to pull the fluid than to pull air in. You don't want air in the system. Oh, and brake fluid is starting to come out. Ugh, that is gross. Now we want to go into the driver's seat, turn on the vehicle, and hit the brakes. All right, going into the driver's side, I'm gonna put the key in the ignition. And then what I'm going to do next is hit the brake pedal at the bottom. And you're going to hear a little buzzing noise, and that is the ABS kicking in. Here we go. You hear that? That's the ABS, and that is also the fluid pumping out. All right. Okay, looking at it now, you can see that is nasty. Earlier, whenever I hit the brakes, the fluid coming out was super dark brown, it was cloudy, and then it slowly became clear, like water. And that's what you want it to be. When the brake fluid comes out clear like this, that's when you know it's fully flushed. And the other thing you want to pay attention to is the fluid level in the fluid reservoir. Right now there's still a decent amount, but you always want to keep it topped off. You never want it to run dry. Otherwise, that's when it starts pulling in air. And like I said, you don't want air in the system. But that is how you flush the rear brakes on the 4th Gen 4Runner. I did both the rear passenger and the rear driver's side already. Now we're going to do the front brakes. Oh. Be careful not to make a mess. And there we go. Okay, the front is lifted. It's on jack stands. I didn't lift it too much, mainly because I want to have a little more room to get under, but also keep the vehicle as level as possible. I also added bricks to the rear wheels on both sides. But now let's go ahead and take care of the front brakes. I just flushed the front passenger side and it went by a lot faster than I expected. The fluid came out near clear. It was kind of brown, but it came out pretty clear. And that side flushed just like that. So now we're going to take care of the front driver's side brakes. Here's the front driver's side wheel, and the valve is right there. Okay. Oh, look at that. Same thing on the front passenger side. This fluid is just barely brown. It's near clear. Like with the rear brakes, for the front brakes, you want the water bottle to sit higher than the valve. I'm back in the driver's side. Now, the thing with the front brakes is you don't have to turn on the vehicle. You just have to hit the brake pedal constantly, and then you'll see the fluid flushing out. And just like that, we are done. The front brakes went by really quickly. Like I said, for the front passenger and the front driver's side brakes, the fluid came out just a little bit brown and then it became clear real fast. The rear brakes, however, they really needed flushing. I'm really surprised the fluid came out clear on the front brakes because I've never flushed the brakes before. I pumped the brakes just a little bit more for a few more minutes and they still came out clear. Now, one thing that really surprised me is that I got all of this extra brake fluid because I was expecting to flush out maybe a gallon of it all, and that's how much I flushed for all 4 brakes. I ended up only using 1 bottle. Never hurts to have extra, but now I know that it only took 1 bottle for me to flush all 4 brakes. And most importantly, the brake pedal no longer feels spongy. It feels stiff again, which is great. But that is how you flush the brakes on the 4th Gen 4Runner. It's a little nerve-wracking, and I thought I was going to need a second person, but turns out you could do this by yourself. If you're subscribed, thanks. If you're not, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I'm going to go ahead and clean up everything, but take care, everyone. I'll catch you on the flip side.